And welcome to Front Row the podcast. We're very excited to have you here. But before we get going, please remember to like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review if you got value from this week's episode. We can't wait to share with you all the industry peers, all the industry experts, all around professional speaking, and we are super excited to welcome you to this week's episodes. Get your notepad ready, get your action steps lined up, and let's tune in to this week's episode. Hello everybody, and hello to everybody watching live. Hello to everybody that's listening on the replay. My name is Ellie Ken. I'm the CEO of the Speaker Awards and Speaker Summit, and you are tuned in to another episode of the ANS Front Row podcast. I'm just going to pause before I introduce our next guest, and I'm going to remind everybody that Speaker Awards are open. Go to thespeakerawards.com and get your application in. We have 2 new categories. The applications are already flowing. As today, we are recording this 28 days to go before the applications close. So do make sure you get your applications in sooner rather than later. Back to our normal broadcast. Hi, and welcome to another ANS podcast. I am ANS Front Row podcast. I'm super excited because I have Frederick with us today. And Frederick's journey is quite a unique journey. And I'm so excited to unpack this because he's a first-time judge, but just because he's a first-time judge, there's quite a little interesting story. There's almost like we were dating for a while, we fell out, and now we're back in each other's lives. So I can't wait to unpick that. Interviewing Frederick will not be the normal format where I normally go, well, you know, what you're looking for as a judge and think, because his journey to judge has been just slightly different. So we can do a slightly different. So Frederick, welcome to the ANS Front Row podcast. Are you having a good day?
Thank you for hosting me. And yes, I'm having a great day so far, and I'm sure it's going to be even better after this chat.
Oh, you're such a charmer. You're looking very sporty. Have you been for a run? Have you been for a workout?
Precisely. So literally, we just came off the gym, had some paddle this morning. So I'm sure we'll talk about my athletic career, but can't let it go.
Of course not. You can take the running out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the running. Is that right?
Always in the gym.
Love it.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So your journey to the Speaker Awards is different in the sense that you applied the very first year, right? And shall we say what happens next?
Let's see what happens next. So that was 2021 or 22?
22. So November 22 was the very first Speaker Awards. You put your name forwards, and
correct.
And you were shortlisted. And I remember that we called your name on stage. We were ready to give you your highly commended, and there was tumbleweed. Tell us about that.
So I started my speaking journey in 2021.
Right.
And prior to that, I was a professional sprinter. And then things got really challenging during COVID. I got COVID in February of 2020. And my performances after that declined. Having missed out on the Olympics in Tokyo, then I got dropped by my sponsor.
Right.
So in 2021, I was just delivery driving, security shifts, just making it work, hustling, and speaking in schools about my running career.
And at this point, you're not getting paid to speak?
Not getting paid to speak. And actually, I'm doing this more so to get better at speaking because I was quite anxious. As a sprinter, I didn't really speak to the media very much. And as a school kid, I was quite introverted. So this was like an exercise in getting better at communicating.
Okay, so you're putting yourself out there.
Put myself out there, speaking about my running career, and then an independent school in my local area actually offered to pay me. I was like, oh my goodness. That was towards the end of 2021. So then I started asking the schools I had been to, do you have a budget? And some of them did, ranging from £50 to 100 quid. Exactly. So in 2022, I stumbled across the Speaker Awards. I think maybe I got a message from you guys off Sirius somewhere, and I applied, just thinking, it's just I'm a newcomer. I'm hardly getting paid for this. And to my surprise, I was shortlisted.
Yes.
Which I was really excited about. But then I had to get a ticket for the event. I had to go to it. I had to get a suit for the event. And I didn't have the financial means at the time because of the situation that I was in. So I just didn't turn up thinking, I'm never going to win anyway. I'm just speaking to a few kids here and there. To my surprise, I ended up winning highly commended. And obviously, I only found that out last year.
did you find out? Like, I'm sure we contacted you. Did you ghost us or block us? Because I'm sure we contacted everybody.
Really?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
honestly
yeah.
had no idea because Simone told me at the awards last year, and I was mind blown. I said, "There's no way I actually won."
No, you did, because obviously I remember the awards, and
Yeah, of
especially
course,
remember if someone doesn't show up.
of
So I
course.
do know that we contact everybody post. We won't contact you pre, but post we contact to say, hey, where do you want us to send a certificate or anything like that? So yeah, that is so interesting that you didn't even, because I remember I saw you last year's awards, and I was like, hey, you know, you won 5 years ago, and you're like, oh no, yeah, no, really, I just don't know how. So it's quite interesting. So you didn't show up because you didn't have the financial means. Is that correct?
That's the truth.
And I think, do you think a part of not wanting to feel like you haven't played a part in that? Because obviously you fought so hard in your athletic career to get picked, right? Because I know a little bit about your journey and we can unpack that. Then you finally get picked, you finally get a sponsor, right? And then COVID happens and you get dropped. Do you think a part of you kind of going, I don't want to deal with another disappointment might have played a part?
That's a really good question. And at the time, I would say it was more so the finances, to be honest, because actually just getting nominated to come was a huge deal for me. And when I got the little picture saying I was nominated, I plastered it
Yeah.
everywhere. I was super, super, super excited. Yeah, and then it was just making sure that I was there. And at the time, it just wasn't feasible,
Yeah.
and that was the true reason why I didn't show up.
And thank you for being honest about that. Because I mean, it took you 5 years to tell us, but hey,
Yeah,
we'll
that,
forgive you. We'll forgive you to that.
better late than never.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that's interesting. So from that kind of, you start speaking in schools, right? And that's more of a confidence thing, really. And then you suddenly, hey, wait a minute, I can get paid for this. But then you kind of take a real kind of, you don't just go for it, you go for it, right? You put yourself in the firing line on one of the biggest TV shows in the UK, right? So you go for The Apprentice. Tell us, how do you go from 50 quid to 100 quid at school to going, you know what? I'm going to go on The Apprentice in front of one of the toughest businessmen in the world. Tell us about your thought process, not even getting on there. What were you
Yeah,
thinking? I love this stuff.
yes, no, that's a really good question. So 2022, I am speaking in schools, and I want to, by the end of 2022, I want to grow this career, but I didn't know anyone within the industry or how it really worked. So I ended up going to loads of different networking events, December 2022.
Right.
Some were free, some were just Toastmasters. I just typed in speaking events on Google, and I went to a bunch of them. One of the events was about overcoming the fear of speaking. I was like,
Okay.
that's interesting. It was in Westminster and it was like £1. So I went there and I was sat there with 20 individuals, and they were all quite highly successful professionals in their careers, but they had one thing in common: they were petrified of speaking.
Okay.
And there was a gentleman at the front coaching us on how we can overcome this fear. And I remember being blown away thinking, how is this even a thing? Like, when I was anxious about this, I thought I was the only one in the world. And here I am sat next to a lawyer who's scared of speaking but needs to speak for her career. So I
Right.
said to the coach afterwards, how can I get involved in this? Because I have a bit of a journey. I used to run, now then I speak in schools for free, and now I'm a speaker. So I think I could do what you do pretty well. And I
Mhm.
kid you not, 2 weeks later, the gentleman calls me and he says, hey, I've got a class in 3 hours and I just got tested for COVID and I'm
Oh my
struggling to
God.
find cover and I cannot cancel the class. And you met you 2 weeks ago, you said you wanted to do this. Can you just cover my class? And in 3 hours notice, I said yes.
Ah,
And
there we go. Always say
that,
yes.
I always say yes. Unprepared, he sent me the slides. I just did my thing and it ended up going really well. I got really good feedback. And then I worked for that organization as a speaking coach for 18 months.
Right. Okay, cool.
Then what happened was there was a bit of friction between myself and the founder who lived overseas, was kind of just overseeing it from where he was. And I was giving him feedback on how things were on the ground, not received very well. And
Oh,
eventually I started to build a team. I started to train coaches. I was doing a lot. And I said to him, look, I would love to help you grow this business, but you're making it hard for me. I could go off and do my own thing, but I don't want to. I want to help you grow this. And then
yeah.
his exact words were, go on then. And that was that. In 2024, I started Believe in Greatness. So
Right.
then the apprentice comes into it because as the right-brained creative that I am, I just thought, how can I give this maximum visibility?
Right. Right.
And fan of The Apprentice, I thought I'm going to apply and just see what happens. I was in Ghana at a restaurant, and they take really long to serve food in Ghana. So I was literally just waiting there, and I was with my cousin, and I did the application in that restaurant, and then yeah,
Right.
the rest is history.
Wow. Okay. So it's interesting because the similarities, although your outcome was a bit better than mine, I thought the same when I used to be the coach with the hat. And I thought, how can I have mass impact? And I went on Britain's Got Talent, except I got booed by 4,000 people and didn't get very far. But you did really well. You got, so you put the apprentice, you apply, and then I think you were delayed a year as well, weren't you, if I remember correctly? Because our dear friend Trey, right? So what happened? So tell us about a little bit about the process. Because again, this, I think what the lesson here for everybody listening, the reason why I want to pick Frederick's brain is because you've got to be impressive, memorable, as well as very good, have a very good business idea, right? So tell us a little bit about that process.
So 80,000 people apply for the show, and let's say it's quite a lot. And I'd say maybe 10% actually go to the auditions.
So that's around 8,000.
Yes. And the auditions are over 3 months, and on a week-to-week basis, they whittle it down.
Okay.
So I applied for season 18, where I go from the 80,000 to the last 25.
Wow.
After
I mean,
3
that
months
in
of
itself
auditions.
is a pretty big, like, that's a big achievement, right?
To be fair, very big achievement. So at that point, I'm very optimistic that I'm going to make it. At 18, get on the show. There's 25 shortlists. I'm probably going to make it.
Right.
Then I get a call from the BBC saying that I am a reserve.
Okay.
What does that mean? They said you still go through all the process as if you're going to get on the show, because often reserves get on the show. So I had to buy the suits, stay in a hotel, get all the training, and do everything.
Right.
And on the day of filming, they said, no one's pulled out, no one got ill, so unfortunately. And I was just like, oh, you just told me 3 months ago, right? And the reason why that hit deep is because I nearly made the Olympics. I nearly went to America. I nearly got, so I felt like, when will it ever be my time? Always the nearly guy. On the taxi home, I remember saying to myself, but just imagine if I just keep going and I stay resilient and I apply again and I make it in the future. That would actually make the story even better.
Yeah.
And my journey's been a journey of resilience. As you alluded to at the beginning, it took me 7 years to sign a pro contract. Then eventually I signed it, and it was all really about resilience. So then that's exactly what happened. So the year I missed out, Trey Lowe was on the show.
A dear friend.
And he was absolutely brilliant. And then I just thought, okay, I'm going to go for it once again. So in that year, I worked really hard. I had my first international gig in Vegas. I grew the business a little bit. We had a Forbes feature, and I leveraged all of that in the year 2 when I applied again, and I showed them how the business had grown. And then, I finally got the opportunity.
Did you have to go through all the stages again, or did
all the stages
you have to do it again? So there's no like, hey, you're on the short list, let's just bump you up. No,
all over again.
So again,
but they remembered me, and they really respected the fact that I came back.
Right. So then you've done that twice, 80,000 down to 8, down to the last 25, but this time you make it on TV, right? So, and you made it to week 6 or 8? 7. Oh, see, I was in the middle, 6, 7. my little girl's like, that's so last year, Dad, please stop it. But I still can't help myself. So you make it to week 7, and then tell us exiting, what kind of happened from that moment on.
So I obviously, as a speaker, put myself forward for all the pitches, all the negotiations. I knew going on that only one person's going to win, but I just want to showcase my skills, no matter how far I get in the process. Exactly. So The Apprentice, as you guys know, is an entertainment show before it's a business show. So if you do something really well, it doesn't typically get shown. It typically show the tricky bits, the difficult bits, the not so good bits. On week 7, when I got fired, they showed my presentation on television. And for the first time, I think ever, Luchago actually posted the video and said, we can see why Frederick is a speaker with a clapping emoji. And the BBC posted it on their social media platforms. It got millions of flows. The video went viral, and many people called it one of the best pictures in the history of The Apprentice. that coincided with me leaving. So then everyone said, no, it's not fair. Frederick shouldn't have left. So I had quite a nice exit. I was like, I'd rather,
cool.
leave as a hero than stay long enough to be a villain, right?
Yeah, right.
So then, getting a lot of props for my communication on the pitch, and I teach communication, was just like a godsend.
Yeah.
And it directly helped us with the business. So I've had countless people say to me, I love the way you spoke on the show. I need help speaking. Do you help? Can you help? I said, that's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
And then, so that exit, like last year, I remember I gambled. I rolled the dice. I started the year with no work. Like my calendar.
So you put it all into The Apprentice.
And it was super scary because I got married September of last year. So I was like, oh my gosh, is this a sensible thing? But it paid off because after that, the calendar blew up and the business also blew up.
That's amazing. I mean, for Alan Sugar to give that endorsement is priceless, right? I mean, you just lead with that on the front of a show reel, right? You literally put that line on there. And just very quickly, is he really as scary as he comes across on telly?
He's not. It's the boardrooms, especially, are filmed over maybe 6 hours.
Yeah, that's why I did that part. I did know. Yeah,
exactly. So they show the bits where he's disgruntled towards the end that he's been speaking for 6 hours, but he's
had enough, and he's really had enough. Right.
And he's actually had enough. Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because Trey claims that he had the best pitch in the history of Apprentice. So I'll let you two duke it out. So you go like, no, I had the best pitch. He's like, we raised the most money when we did the esports thing. So you two can have that.
We'll fight it out.
and this year we got Lawrence on it. So who I also know. Maybe
Lawrence.
Will they let a 50-year-old onto The Apprentice? Do you think? Is it time?
Why not? I think it's time. Go for it. Season 21.
Let's do it. Right. Anyone out there from The Apprentice? I am open to be invited. So there we go. I don't know if my wife will let me because she's like, what if they make you look like an absolute tool? Which I know, like, for example, I sent a message to Lawrence after one episode. He went, no, it's not how it happened. I'm going to do a video and explain how it happens. I was like, do you know what? As long as I show up as my best, it's a game. It's a competition. Let's see. At least I won't get booed by 4,000 people this time. Or maybe I will. I don't know. Let's see. You never know. So then you come out of The Apprentice, your business is exploding, right? You're doing really well. I know you're traveling loads with keynotes.
Yeah.
We crossed paths again, thanks to Treylo, because you spoke at one of his events.
Yeah.
I know you're very close to the co-founder of the Speaker Awards, Simone Vincenzi, and you both share an Italian, because you're originally, you're Italian. People don't realize that about you.
Yes. You're born and bred in Milano.
There you go. It's such an interesting, eclectic mix we have at the awards. And then I approach you and say, listen, I think it'd be great if you're a judge. Tell us about why you decided to become a judge. What was the thought of process? Because you're busy. It's not like you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, right?
Absolutely. I think, firstly, the full circle of 2022, going for it, not being able to go because the business wasn't there yet, to now being in a situation where the business is doing incredibly well, and then I can kind of bless someone else. It is phenomenal. I think that's the main reason why I said yes, especially as someone who I still consider myself a newcomer breaking through the industry. I understand the power of credibility, and something like the Speaker Awards can give you enormous credibility. Right, that's the first thing. And then also, adjacent to that, selfishly, it gives me enormous credibility being not even just a nominee, a judge. And when I said it to a few people who I met at last year's event, they were like, oh, you're going to the event this year? I was like, oh, I'm a judge. They're like, what? How did that happen? And then I tell them the story. So I think, those are the two main reasons. And one thing that I will always do, and I do, is give back. So I speak in schools in South London, underprivileged areas, all the time for free or for a really discounted fee, because that's where my heart lies. And of course, the business is growing, doing a lot of corporate stuff, but giving back to young people, to the industry, something that I want to do.
Amazing. And thank you. We appreciate that you're wanting to do that. So we can finally send you the invoice for the meal for the ticket. Yeah, no kidding. I'm kidding. Of course, it's interesting because again, there's quite a few similarities with me in the Business Book Awards. Right, I entered one year, I got nowhere, and then I entered the following year after throwing my toys out the pram. I wrote another one. Then I got shortlisted for that one. I didn't win, but then I was invited to become a judge at the Business Book Awards. Now, considering I'm dyslexic and I can't really read and write, for me it's a great honor that I'd be able to support fellow authors. I haven't done it the last couple of years because the speaker awards have really taken off. But again, like here, it's like, yeah, I can give back here. Right? I can really support. And I always like giving back. So that's really lovely for you to hear. And you're back on the other side. So you'll be able to see. I'm not sure what category on yet. We'll announce them shortly. I'll put them in a WhatsApp group. They are allocated. I just haven't given them to you. So what would you be looking for? Forget the category right now. What would you would like to see when people apply? What would you look for?
I'm so interested in the reason why people do what they do, especially as speakers, because I find that there's a real mix. There's some people that, it's a little bit of ego, right? They love being on stage, but there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but they love being on stage and they're good at it and they're good. And there's other people, and I guess I'm more so in that camp, which fully are of service. Every time I'm on stage, I see myself as just a vessel of information. It's so not about me. It's about the information and about the people that I can help. So that's one thing that I'm really interested in seeing. What do people speak about, and what is the reason that they do? Is it because it's a popular topic, it's a highly profitable topic, or because they have a certain lived experience that they want to share that to help the people that they're speaking to? I think that'll be my main thing that I would look at.
When you see these entries, how will you know that? Like, how will they grab your attention and keep it? What can speakers do watching this who are applying? What do you think will grab their attention? Your attention, even.
Yeah, no, and I think I remember, for example, when I was applying for the speaker awards, and even just the videos that you select for us to see. I remember I always put videos where there'd be a lot of engagement. I was speaking in schools only at the time, and there'd be a lot of engagement where the kids would be laughing and doing a call and response, and you could see it was genuinely me trying to pour into the audience. So I think even just from the video that you select, I'd like to see, how are you engaging with the audience, or is it literally just about you in every single video? I'd be interested to see.
Okay, because I cannot remember the category I've given you, but some of the videos might not demonstrate engagement, right? But the content might still be very good. So what would you look for when you see a video like that? That it's more of a submission of their content. Because again, if you think you got 5 minutes, if you're showing engagement, you're kind of losing seconds accumulatively. So people might choose not to do that because they've only got 5 minutes of their best stuff. Yep. In that case, what would you love to see?
I would like to see content that can actually tangibly help someone from A to B.
Okay.
And I think that's something that I pride myself in. Anytime I'm on stage, my priority is to help someone's life from A to B. So though people may have really cool stories and adventures about how they were in the mountains and how they overcame that, and then I want to know, okay, so what does this mean for the person that's listening to me? How can they use this information, this story, to go from A to B? I think that's something that's going to be really important if I'm just seeing that content.
Love it. So for those of you listening, if you're halfway, where I'm interviewing Frederick here, who's one of the judges. Remember, the awards are open on thespeakerawards.com, and everything, all the criteria, everything the judges see and mark is all available on there. We hold nothing back. So if you want to understand what they're looking at to mark you, you can actually see that. So go to speakerawards.com. So that's really interesting. And is there anything else? What don't you want to see? What you like after 5 seconds, like off, 15 seconds off? What would turn you off, so to speak?
Yes, I'd give them a little bit more than 15 seconds because I'd want to see the transition. But it would
be
the
opposite. That you don't know the size.
I don't see that. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. It would be, what turns me off with speakers is when it's all about them. Right. And when they're just on stage, either trauma dumping or just telling us about all of the good adventures they went on without any relation to. So if it's all me, then that's a turn off.
One of the judges said that what really turned them off is it's suddenly in the middle they'd have like a sales pitch, and they would almost pitching to the judges, And I think the thing to remember is if you're not, it's the TEDx category, you've only got 5 minutes, right, to really win people over, and it's not a format that's unique to us. A lot of places like TEDx is 18 minutes, right? A lot of places you get 5 minutes to do your best stuff. A lot of competitions you can only do 5 minutes. So what I suggest to everybody is to really, really think, and Dom said this, one of the judges who works for London Speaker Bureau, is to really be intentional with what you put in, right? Because I think a lot of people just go, oh, I'll put my show reel across 3 categories. But that's not the relevant part. I mean, when you're out there yourself, because you must do multi-speaker events, without naming names, what are some of the kind of cringe moments you see from speakers? You're just like, oh no, they didn't. Like,
I've seen a couple of them. One of them, it has been the sales pitch. So to someone, in the USA, I see it quite a lot. People just spend the whole time just selling, and it's not like a subtle sell. It's, this is what I did for this company, and this is what you should do. This is what I did for this company, this is what you should do. So that put me off. Another thing is when you perform a little bit too much. Some people do like it. I don't necessarily love it. So an example of this is I've seen someone come onto the stage dancing to good music, and then while they were on the stage, it seemed a little bit too performative. And though the crowd had a good time, and that is important, there wasn't enough of the education, what can I learn from this? And I think there has to be a bit of a mix.
Okay. What's your walk-on song? I used to use Insane in the Membrane by Cypress Hill. I used to use that. And now I use Watch Me. Again, I can only use Watch Me, because, you know, that's the name of my keynote. But I have to edit that. So only really because it's quite a naughty song, really. And so is Insane in the Membrane. So I could only really use the track, not the actual words. Those used to be my kind of walk-on songs. And so I need to find a good Watch Me one. I do use Pink Floyd in my song, Wish You Were Here, as part of kind of, I talk about a moment I got this letter from my dad who's an alcoholic. And that song played when I was reading it. So it comes like, and I know that really moves people. They're almost crying in that moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I need to find a new walk-on song. So if you had to choose one, what would you choose?
If I had to choose one.
If I like, listen, you're on tomorrow, big stage. I need a walk-on song. What would you go for?
Ooh, that is put me on the spot here.
No, right?
Yeah, my mind is going to 50 Cent.
Ah.
Yeah, because when I was in Italy, I used to love 50 Cent, like growing up as like, the only black kid in this area. Seeing this cool dude on TV doing this thing. So I'd say 50 Cent. What's a good 50 Cent?
Oh, I hope it's not Lollipop. You find me at the lolly shop.
I think 50 Cent's got this song called Big Rich Town.
Okay.
And it starts with, this is a big rich town. I just come from the poorest part. And it's just basically how he went through this social mobility coming from like the poorest part of the town to being able to hit the city lights. And I think that's a song that resonates with me. So
I think, does he use it in Power?
Exactly.
Yes, I do know the track. I mean, which is, I love that series as well. Cool, I love that tune. So, what's beyond judging? What's on your calendar for the next till the end of the year? What's going on for you? Tell us.
Yeah, so it's really exciting. What we do with my organization is we simply just help professionals get really good at speaking in high stakes situations. And what's happening is because the program is really working, we're seeing a real growth within the organization. So we work with individuals in small groups, and these individuals then work at big organizations, and their managers, 9 times out of 10, see a tangible difference in the way they communicate. And they say, Leah, you never spoke in meetings, and now what's going on?
Right.
And Elliot's like, oh, I did this thing with a guy called Frederick. And then they're like, whoa, everyone needs to do it. And that's the exciting part. So yeah, the growth of the organization is really cool. We're doing a rebrand, and which is cool because this started with me speaking in schools, Believe in Greatness, so the aspirational thing. And I think we've kind of outgrown Believe in Greatness, so we've got an exciting rebrand happening.
Okay. Is it top secret?
It is for now.
Okay,
But by the time the awards will be there, it will be announced.
Well, of course, we're going to link everything in the notes and stuff. So we're happy to, if you want us to point to, or just connect with you, obviously, to begin with on LinkedIn. So rebrand's happening. You're getting into big organizations. And what level was the CEO level? Or was it all levels? Like what levels are you working with?
At the moment, we're working with C-suite and below. So like leaders. So what we did at RBS recently, we went to Scotland. And all of the retail banking managers, so if you go into like a retail store, they're going to speak to your manager. 70 of those guys all came to Edinburgh, and we did a huge 2-day event with them. So that's been really, really cool. And what's interesting is that in a lot of these industries, these leaders haven't necessarily had this training. People just
Hmm.
assume because you're in a
Right.
leadership position, you are really good at articulating yourself, especially in press. But actually, no, a lot of them get really anxious, but because they have teams of 100, they can't really demonstrate that
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's really, and in the banking industry specifically, a lot of banks are closing their retail stores. So
Yeah.
because the bank closing their branches. So they're trying to find other ways to get business. And one of these ways is to go out to other organizations and do financial health checks so that they can.
They win
So
the business.
exactly. So it's a lot more pitching, a lot more speaking, a lot more communicating, which is great for us. And then we're finding that with the rise of AI and technology, a lot more people need this training because most of the talking that we do is digital, Zoom
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
meetings and Teams meetings. So yeah, it's been a really exciting journey, and that's what we're going to be spending our time doing.
Love that. Love that. It's quite interesting because it's almost sometimes a title dehumanizes someone. Oh, they're CEO, they're senior management, they're C-suite, and oh, they should have this all figured out. It's funny. I think the biggest lesson I learned around that about title not matching is years ago. I worked in Harvey Nichols in Leeds, and I remember it was a really busy day, and we had all these backed up orders, and I remember turning to the manager going, "Can you make a cappuccino to help out, please?" And the manager going, "I don't know how to make a cappuccino. I'm here to manage. I'm not here to make cappuccinos." Oh wow, there was such a disconnect between title and ability. You know what I mean? I mean, I know we're talking at a different level here. We're
No,
talking
it's
very
true.
different, but I think that was like, wow, okay. And I think often when we see like CEOs or founders and they think, oh, they must have this sorted, you see them on stage. And like yourself, I work with a lot of Olympians. I work with very like established people in their own right. But when it comes to switching on the speaker dial, it's quite low. They're like nervous, and you forget these are human beings too. They have their own stuff, right? Everybody does, it's the same thing, different smell, right? Everybody has that going on for them, and I think people forget that just because they're C-suite at Royal Bank of Scotland doesn't mean they're not anxious, they're not nervous. It doesn't mean they suddenly all love to speak, right? You
Exactly.
must find that. Do you find that as well?
Very, very often. A lot of the times it's the opposite. What gets someone in a leadership position is that they're really technical at what they do. They're really clever, really intelligent, very proactive. But then when they get into leadership, it's no longer about how clever you are, it's about your people skills. It's about your communication
Mm,
skills. It's about how persuasive you are. And actually, they find that it's a little bit of a totally new role that they play. And they have to really adapt on the job because then they have to report back to their team. They now have to have more difficult conversations, which they're not really used to having. So all of a sudden, you can't hide anymore. I
yeah,
find that that is for us, it's good because a lot of these people need the training. And yeah, the cool thing that we're seeing is that as soon as we do some work with one organization, they're all thinking about many other teams or many other factors
yeah,
within the organizations that we can work with. So yeah, our strategy is to go deep with a few clients rather than shallow with many.
yeah. No, that's a good strategy. And are you finding with the rise of AI more demand for speaker training?
100%. 100%. Whether it's young people that are graduating and are now new in their roles, and they spend most of their times on these, so they haven't
Yeah,
communicated as well, or people that have even just said because it's been social media, pandemic, AI, and all three
yeah.
have played a really big part. People tell me that look, before the pandemic, I could lead meetings, it was good. Post pandemic, it's all on Teams. So now the thought of going to Manchester and speaking to that high net worth individual
Hmm.
scares the life out of me. How do I do it? And then the third thing is now with AI, advice that potentially you would have asked Simone for, and you can quickly just ask Claude. So then you're
Yeah,
having less conversations with Simone. And
yeah.
so I definitely feel like it's played a big part. And what we're saying, week on week, month on month, it's growing, growing, growing.
Do you think also part of that is the craving for like real life interaction? People now, because they are so dominant, they are craving being at events, they're craving seeing speakers. Do you think that's a big part of it?
Think that plays a massive part of it. And even in the fitness industry, we're seeing it with run clubs. Pretty much all my
Mm.
athletics friends have started
Yeah.
run clubs, and there are hundreds of people that just meet up with these communities to go running.
Well, a lot of
And
brands have launched their own run clubs as well, haven't they, to create that interactivity and things. Now, it's quite interesting because I was listening to a few podcasts and it's been demonstrated that actually the internet for the first time is plateau. Actually, there's a decline in postings. So I think Gen Z aren't posting as much. Yeah, and they're kind of in dark spaces like WhatsApp or, where they're not public with it. So it's quite interesting to see. So therefore, it makes sense that people want interaction. And shocking thing, I was talking to someone recently, and they were saying that either their wife or someone in their family were a counselor, and they were saying that sometimes they would get kids that were massively troubled, and they couldn't talk to the counselor. They
Yeah.
had to sit there WhatsApping the counselor in the room. I mean, that's
Wow.
a really worrying place to get to when your whole communication is nonverbal, or you're too shy, or too. It's
And what I
clearly,
found as well, so we're still going to a lot of schools, and this
yeah.
lady told me that she's noticed a real shift in parenting as well. Now, I'm not a parent yet, and I know that parenting nowadays is harder than it was back then. However, she'll say that the laissez-faire parenting is playing a huge role. One that she found was this kid who came in year one. They gave them a book, and rather than turning over the page, they were swiping because
Oh
they had
no.
only ever had the iPads. And then with incredibly busy parents that aren't sitting at a dinner table with their children asking them how was your day, then those interactions are never happening. So children finding it even harder to, if you can't even tell your mom or dad how your day was, how are you going to be
Yeah.
able to tell your teacher how you're feeling? So yeah, it's playing a shift even with parenting.
Yeah, and I can see that. And I think, Emily and I are quite aware. So, for example, I mean, now it's holidays, so they might get a bit more, but normally they only get iPad on the weekends for an hour. We try and we sit, we
Mhm.
keep technology off the table. We're not perfect parents by any
Of
means,
course.
but we're so aware of what it does to the brain and to their
Yeah,
development, and especially short form. I mean, that is the worst. So none of my kids go on short form.
that's good.
My daughter just about gets onto what's that big game they love playing? Ah, sorry, it'll come back to me. We've just given it back to her, but again, limited to an hour, no public interaction. She can connect with her friends and play. That's it. Yeah, I agree. I think it's very worrying because it's so easy. And I've been there. Like, I've been that parent where you're at a restaurant and your kids are kicking off and like, right, here's the phone,
Mhm.
right? But for us, we don't lean onto that. Well, I watch people time and time again that I know they'll get their boom, iPads up, kids
Mm.
watching. So
Mm.
yeah, I think that I'm hoping there'll be a shift. There'll be some form of a paradigm shift within us as parents, as a society, um, that allows us to reconnect. Social media was supposed to make us more connected. We're now
Right.
more disconnected.
It's very, very true. And it's really important because I mean I've seen the impact that social media has had on adults. As
Right.
adults, we find it addictive. We say we're going to spend 15 minutes on Instagram, then it's been 2 hours. So
Yeah.
and we're 35. So let alone a 6-year-old that's grown up on it, at their attention spans, what's going to happen to them when they are teenagers. So I really do hope
Exactly.
that the tide will surge.
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. The best thing I ever did is I deleted Facebook, my account. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on
Hmm.
TikTok. I'm
Hmm.
only on LinkedIn. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know as a business, as the awards, we should be on Instagram, we should be on TikTok, and I just don't have the capacity. Last year I tried to join Instagram, right?
Okay.
And I set up an account and everything, and then within hours I got, please verify your identity. You're in violation of the community standards. I'm like, what?
Goodness.
I just felt dirty and icky that moment. So I tried to. I did send them my identity and they shut the account down. I was like, do you know what, whatever. And all it was cool. This was Speaker Awards. And they shut me down. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I
What?
think it's because I wasn't Elliot K, the Speaker Awards. It was just the Speaker Awards. But they have business accounts. Anyway, I was like, thank God, blessing in disguise.
Right.
So I don't know about you. In our household, as we start talking about families, on our kitchen table, our literal kitchen table, that's like the hub in the house, right? It's where our kids do their drawings. It's where my son will cut out snowflakes. It's where Emily and I, my wife, will speak about the future, buying houses. It's kind of the hub of the creativity and visionary in the K household. What's on your kitchen table? I ask all my guests this.
Great question. And I actually got goosebumps when you're talking about your kitchen table. It's
Oh,
fantastic. Yeah. For me, I within kind of my community, ethnic minority,
mm,
African, there is I guess a misconception that like some places don't belong to us.
okay.
Now, one of the challenges is that because there isn't much representation in these places, it's
Hmm.
easy for someone to look at it and say, "Oh well, we don't. There's no one there, so we don't belong there." And I think like too much is given, much is expected. I feel it's my responsibility now, which is also why I'm going to be a judge for the speaker
Mm,
award. It's my responsibility to show, and that's why I still do loads of schools, and I will always do, to show people that are maybe not in a great socio-economic situation at the moment, that it can happen for you.
Okay.
All of the people that you see on TV and stage, they are normal people. But they are normal people that didn't accept that their current situation was their final destination. So yes, the people that are on stage, you are on TV, they are absolutely normal people, but they just didn't accept that their current circumstance would be their final destination. I always say, your current situation isn't your final destination. So it's really on my heart, and I feel like people that have been able to move through that socio-economic mobility, we do need to try our very best to use our stories as evidence that it can happen. And I think that's the main thing that's on my kitchen table.
So when you say there's places we don't belong, are you talking about positions? You're not talking geography, or are you talking geography?
Yeah, no, not geography, more so positions, more so roles. And I mean, working with one of the corporate banks that we work with, an interesting thing that they found is that they said they're doing great work with hiring a lot of ethnic minorities. But actually, when they look up the ladder, the percentage gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
Right,
And then at
yeah.
C-suite, there's none of them. Like, how comes that when we're recruiting them, at the first level, it's very representative, but at the top, there isn't? Like, what is that? And a lot of the times, it isn't that we're not good enough. It's that we don't believe we belong in those high positions, or we don't believe that our business can grow, or we don't believe we can be in certain groups. And that's one of the reasons why business is called Believe in Greatness, though it's changing the name, because it all starts with belief. So I really want to use my story and my journey to inspire and to show individuals that are where I once was. Because, Elliot, when I first moved to the UK, I was 12 years old. Me and my little sister, she was 6, mum and dad. We lived in a 3-bedroom flat in Brixton, and we lived in one of the 3 bedrooms.
Okay, all of you?
All of us in one bedroom. Other family in another bedroom, other family in another bedroom. Not en suite.
Right.
So we're sharing the kitchen, the bathroom with just stranger families, not even just people. And that was in 2007. And now, I'm the dude that they see on The Apprentice, speaking, etc. But I think that is evidence that it can, no matter where you are, you can grow through that social mobility. It's really on my heart to try and spread a message.
Yeah, absolutely, and very much needed. So, what is it that you have? Because is it inside of people to keep going and prove, or is it something you feel you can learn? So, what I'm working with someone, and she started in a park. Sorry. And she kind of went on to become this incredible force of nature. I won't give it too much away, especially as I use that terrible term, and I do apologize for that. I didn't mean to. But she went on to do incredible things, right? And first question for you around that is the ability, that belief, inbuilt, or is that something you develop to kind of pursue these incredible paths?
It's a great question, and I don't know if it's black or white. I tend to believe that many things are a bit more gray. So I feel like it's layered to a certain extent. Number one, seeing is believing. So seeing someone that you can relate to who is doing success looks different for everyone. For someone like my father, who grew up in a village in Ghana, success is living in the UK, having kids go into education, and that is success for him. So I think that's also another important thing just to define what success means for you. Because coming from where you come from, you have a different starting point. Right? And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a credible speaker and go on the apprentice, etc. But just determine what that means for you.
Okay. And what is it for you? Because it's not like, hey, we moved over and we're living, all of us in a bedroom, and now things are great. Like, you've had lots of disappointment. You've had to really earn your place. I think most people do, but you've really, from knowing your story, had to earn your place several times over. What is it within you that keeps you going?
That's a fantastic question. When I reflect on the journey that my parents took, like my father,
Mhm.
he's a whole Netflix series needs to happen on my dad. And just to give you a 1 minute snippet, he grew up in a village in Ghana. At 16, he run away to try and build a life in Nigeria, run out of money after a few months, came back. And then he said, my mission is to start a family in Europe. That's where the opportunities will be. So, start an husband in the gym.
That's right. Ah, there you go. See the joys of doing live recordings, and we don't edit these things either. So anyone listening, listen, you're getting a full frontal as to live recordings.
Amazing. So he did went through all of the situation, and eventually he was on a he paid a ticket to get a boat from Morocco to Spain, and then he got into a big fight on the boat, and they actually basically pushed him offshore. Yeah, so he was
No.
basically in the middle of the sea. It's wild, and he was there for like a day or so until he saw a yacht, called a helicopter, took him to Spain. He was on the news. It's crazy. I said, "Is it
Wow.
mad?" Yeah, pretty much risked his life, right, for his children to have a good future.
Yeah, yeah.
And anytime I reflect on that, it gives me the drive to make that sacrifice worth it. So for me personally, especially when I was in the trenches, really working hard, that was my drive. And now, I speak as we often speak about what is your why, right? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
everyone has a different drive, but it's important that we try and discover what ours is, because that is a great question. What do I think we should be speaking about that we're not speaking about? Interestingly, we've already touched on it. And I think it is really about safeguarding young people from social media.
Okay.
So you'll be familiar with the documentary that came out recently about the manosphere
Yeah.
and
I
Louis
haven't finished
Theroux.
watching it. My wife was watching it, ironically.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think one of the challenges, I think, is that teenagers of today haven't actually been taught how to use social media.
They've just grown up with it.
They've just grown up with it. And a little bit is parenting, but also I think the education system has some questions to answer. Because if we can spend time learning about the Romans and we spend time learning about Pythagoras, then maybe some time of the week should be spent learning about the nuances of social media and
Right.
about not taking everything at face value. And because if kids aren't being taught this, then we can't necessarily be upset when they fall for the tricks, when they
Mm.
follow the influencers, because they haven't been taught any other way. And I think there was a lot of discourse, and there is a lot of discourse around the documentary and the influences on the platform. But actually, we're not speaking enough about the young people and what we can do to really help safeguard them. And I'm hoping that the challenges the teenagers are currently going through can help us understand the next generation can't have the same. If nothing changes, nothing will change. We
Yeah.
need to do more and just educating them on how social media works.
Yeah. Okay. And it's interesting because this keeps coming up. But I think part of the problem is the young people don't think it's a problem because they've grown up with it, right? So they can't see the problem. So it's a bit like me taking away, like my son was playing the same game my daughter's playing, and when we stopped him because we learned how bad it is developmentally for his brain. But of course, he resented that because he didn't know, right? So again, young people are growing up, they don't know. So then for us to suddenly go, oh, that's bad, take away, that won't work. So I think we need to find how to do this effectively, right? And
I totally
I don't
agree.
know because I don't do schools anymore. I mean, what are do you find school like when you do your talks at schools? Do you find kids are just distracted massively, or are they really engaged with you? As I mean, you're a brilliant speaker, so I'm hoping they're engaged with you. But what do you find in terms of their attention and where they go to when they, especially the questions they ask, would be telling us?
Very, very, very good question. Now, I typically get them fully engaged, which blows the teacher's mind.
Okay.
It's like we can never get them for an hour just sitting down looking at something.
Yeah. Right.
Now, on the questions, I think this is the challenge. Almost when I go into schools, almost every question has to do with monetary success,
Right.
careers, money. But when you are in year 9, when you're 13, 14, 15,
Right.
pretty much what you care about.
Yeah.
Now, that's why the influencers have so much influence. Because if success to you when you're 14, 15 looks like a Lamborghini, looks like if I have a Lamborghini and a penthouse, then a young person will think, damn, I'm going to do what this person is doing to be able to achieve those results. So one of the most important ways to be able to tackle this is to show that there are other ways to be successful. That's when people like myself, because I'm showing them that, oh, by the way, I've got a successful business. I've got a wife that I love. I've got a cool house. I've got my favorite car ever. And I don't believe in any of this stuff. I was kind to people. I tried to solve a problem in the world. And the more people I could help, the more money I made.
Yeah, yeah.
So then as a 14-year-old, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to be rich and successful. How do I do this? And I just say that find a problem you truly care about and solve them and be the best person properly. And the more people you can help, the more money you can make. Now they're seeing, now there's another way of being able to achieve the goals that I want to. So I think I know it's not the only way, but that's the way that I've seen really helps.
So leading by example, but also showing, look, here's another way of doing it. I think that's really important. It's quite interesting because one of those manospheres, and probably the biggest one, actually said something of sense a while ago. And he said, look, these boys are growing up knowing that they can't buy a house, knowing they're going to make less money than their parents, knowing that the job prospects are quite low with the rise of AI. I mean, that's at least the atmosphere it's being driven at. And all they're really left to do is gamble on cryptocurrency and things like that, which they're likely to lose. So therefore, they're disgruntled. They're going to look for someone to blame, hence the rise in racism and all that kind of side. And of course, they're going to start to follow these people because they're going, look, I'm the way, right? Look at me. I am not educated, but look at me. I've got 7 girls around me.
Yeah, yeah.
I've got millions of followers. I make millions and millions of this. I've got sponsorship deals. And I think we need more of you to plug that gap and go, look, or me, but you're out in schools. I don't do schools, not because I'm anti-schools. I just don't get invited. I'm not pursuing it. So I think it is important to show the other way. But the challenge again, I guess, is because you're not polarizing, you're not controversial, right? I mean, you could be. I mean, how do we get to them in a way, besides doing talks, which is great, and hopefully we'll see more of that? How do we get in a way that's non-polarizing, in a way that's, positively encouraging?
It's a really good question. And actually, I remember, for example, and this is when the platforms have a role to play. Following the Manosphere documentary, Piers Morgan decided to interview a gentleman in the Manosphere. And he just made him even more famous, made him even more popular.
Right.
He could have used that slot to interview a person like myself or someone, a success story that doesn't believe in it. That would have made that person more famous, that person more popular. And then they would have given them an opportunity for other people to see, or for parents to think, oh, son, look into this person. So I think that's when we all kind of play a role in who do we champion. Now that the challenge
that's
is,
a good one.
The champion. Who do we give the platform to?
Right.
And I think that if we do that collectively, then we can hear new voices and we can show new role models.
Have you reached out to Piers Morgan and said that?
I actually have followed that. Yeah, I haven't heard back.
I think, I mean, interesting, obviously, like someone like Piers Morgan, he's in the middle. He'll put 2 complete extremes and get them to fight out. That's where and he'll every now and then he'll chip in. Well, he does chip in a lot. That's not fair on Piers, right? But he brings polarizing figures, opposite, boom, millions of views, lots of clips, lots of people sharing, lots of people analyzing. So it makes sense. And every now and then he'll try and have a go at them and ridicule them. I mean, I haven't watched that, so I can't comment on it. But it would be nice if they platform people like yourself, like Trey, who are really championing some great people, not just you and Trey, but like, hey, here's a great example. You don't have to be like him. You can be like him or like her, right? I think it's a good thing. So this has been fantastic. So we're going to wrap this up shortly. Just remember you're listening to the ANS Front Row podcast, and I'm interviewing Frederick, who is one of the judges first year. Coming back, he was a awardee, didn't show up, and come back 5 years later to be a judge. So fantastic. So remember, go to thespeakawards.com, get your application in. They're open. As I'm recording this today, it's 28 days to go before they close. I ask all my guests this, Frederick, what's your favorite story to close on when you're speaking?
Favorite story to close on when I'm speaking is the story about when I first moved to London.
Okay, let's hear it. Not the 45-minute version.
Having never been to London, I thought I was going to live next door to Buckingham Palace. And that's all I know. So we landed at Stansted Airport, got a coach to Victoria, and then I was there, like in central London, looking around, blown away at skyscrapers. And I say to my dad, "Oh, how long until we're home?" And he says, "Not long, 15 minutes and we'll be home." Cool, I live in central London. So I get on the tube, and then we get off the tube station, and immediately the atmosphere was very different. And I said to Dad, where are we? Are we still in London? My dad said, "Yes, son, welcome to Brixton." And that was the beginning of my time living in London. As you know, being in Brixton had so many challenges that I had to overcome to learn English. But I always say the story, and I finish with the story, because irrespective of all of the challenges that I faced, I am the person that you see here today. And actually, the adversity built me. And through all of those challenges, I was able to grow and learn. So I think if you learn from all of the adversity, then you are going to become a stronger person.
Brilliant. Love that story. And I just want to say a massive thank you for everything you're doing for the awards and beyond the awards, also what you do, what you champion, how you're, a really great example for young boys, that there is another way besides that way. So thank you very much for that. Is there anything you want to plug, anywhere you want them to go? Please, this is your moment. Go for it.
Firstly, thank you for the opportunity and for the brilliant platform that you yourself and the team are creating at Speaker Awards. Absolutely phenomenal. So I am Frederick Afrifa. You guys can find me anywhere. Google, ChatGPT, Facebook, TikTok. If you're someone who gets really anxious, you're a professional, and you know you need to work on those communication skills in order to accelerate your career, myself and my team would be more than happy to support you. We run £1 introductory events every 2 weeks in central London. So just send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram saying £1, and I'll send you the link for those events, and then you can see if you like it. We can support you further if you do.
Amazing. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll put all the links where we can, and keep doing the amazing work. And I will see you very, very soon. Thanks for coming on the show. See you later. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Front Row podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. It's through your feedback that we grow. We hope you've taken lots of notes, benefited from the wisdom, and are now going to turn everything into action. Remember to keep an eye out for our next episode of the Front Row podcast. And remember to like, subscribe, and of course leave us a 5-star review. We look forward to connecting with you and hearing the progress of your journey in the professional speaking world. Tune in next time for the Front Row podcast.